Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. And so, of course, got the boxing and MMA news. And if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, of course, starting off with the boxing news. So Jacobs has retired. That's off the Shane Mosley Jr. loss, and I mean, great fighter and crazy how he got to the position he was in. Really seemed like somebody who's earned the position he was in when he was once fighting some of the best around, and bought some terrific fights and will be missed from boxing. Diaz is suing the promoter of his fight versus Masvidal. I forgot the organisation's name, but seems like he's been owed a lot more money, and apparently, like the promoter said that if he gave him the money, the promoter's wife would like leave him or something because it's that much money. I don't think Diaz cares about that whatsoever, and it will be interesting to see if he does get that money. Plant vs McCumbee and Fulton Jr. vs Rios is set to fight August 17th. That is the first PBC x Amazon Prime like fight night type thing where, they're two great fights still and they could be a pay-per-view in themselves if they maybe add one more big fight in there. But, I think having that as a fight night just shows the level in which they're trying to match PBC. Like they could, I think seeing, everything that's been going on with His Excellency, I believe that they are eager to make sure that their shows are at such a high level to be able to somewhat match that, and they've been achieving that so far. Muratalo and Davis have been going back and forth. Seems like there's been a few fighters going back and forth this week. Davis and Stevenson, Muratalo, Davis, Stevenson, Carrington. Some weird ones, but they've been going back and forth. Muratalo, Davis. I think that would be a good fight. WBC have ordered Stevenson versus Cepeda. Inoue will fight Doheny September 3rd, so that's been officially announced. A fight in which a lot of people ain't really a massive fan of. I can't say it's like the best option, but I mean, I always just love watching Inoue fight, so at the end of the day, at least he's fighting. Janabek is staying at middleweight, even though all that happened with him passing out and everything, it seems like he's still up for staying at middleweight, so, he still wants to retain his belts and go for the other champions, so hopefully it just doesn't get to a point where the belt's just kind of bigger than his like body and stuff like that. You see that a lot, so hopefully that won't be the case. Golden Boy have granted Garcia permission to fight in an exhibition in Japan in December. I never really know what's going on with Ryan Garcia. I don't think anybody does. But now Golden Boy have apparently said that he can do that if he'd like. I don't really know if he will or not. Lee will fight July 27th. Dubois has signed a long-term deal with Boxer. Kadua will fight August 3rd. Akbar, Mould and Hardy have joined GPM Sports. Bentley vs Sarze. Junior vs Berardi. Feo, Adams, Wood, Frankham and McCormack will fight August 17th. Stevenson and Carrington, like I say, have been going back and forth. Morris will fight August 24th. Shalom has ruled out Eubank Jr. vs Canelo in the UK, so I mean, I never really thought it would be in the UK. If that fight was going to happen, it probably would be either Mexico or America, but probably America. So yeah, but it's been ruled out to being in the UK. Zoo is set to fight Lubin September 22nd. That is a good fight, and a good fight to have in Australia as well. An eliminator for the title. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Zoo try and get back to that world level, but Lubin is going to be a very tough test for him. Zoo will fight Mazaduzier August 28th. That is Nikita Zoo. Great fight. McKenna will fight Laws August 3rd. Denise will fight August 3rd. Tanaka vs Rodriguez was cancelled. I talked about it in my prediction for the Nakatani fight. Crazy how somebody is allowed to come in that much overweight. Like I say, there should be, unless there is an actual medical reason as to why, which I don't know, there could have been. If not, I feel like something has to be said, something has to be done, and perhaps you should be possibly speaking about bannings and stuff like that if you're coming in that much overweight, because it just ruins it. And it's crazy. Asombo will fight Edwards September 27th. British Boxing Board have ordered Gordon versus Liddard. Stevenson will not be joining with Golden Boy, and no real surprise. I never really thought that would be the case. Obviously, the whole kind of talks were there, but at the same time, De La Hoya he seems difficult to work with as ever. So yeah, I just never really thought that would happen, and shock it's not. So that will make it interesting. Like I say, WBC ordering him versus Cepeda. Will we see that? Probably not, to be completely honest. But I'm going to talk a bit in a moment about who else Stevenson could be fighting now. Serrano has vacated her IBF World title, and that's because she's pursuing the fight versus Katie Taylor, and probably has been told she has to vacate that because she's moving up in weight. So that gives fighters like Sky Nicholson a chance to fight for that. De Gale has called out Groves for a rematch in like an exhibition type fight. Why not? Lomachenko's manager has said that the Davis fight will not be happening next. There seems like talks are officially gone. Lomachenko wants to have some time out, at the point in which he is in his career. I don't blame him on one hand because, of course, having a good mentality and making sure that like you're all okay is the most important thing. But at the same time, the age in which he's at, like there may not be many more huge fights left for him. So why now choose to have the break? But nonetheless, it seems like that's happening. We probably will see him fight. Wouldn't surprise me if it's next year, but for the moment, I believe that Stevenson Davis is probably the only fight to be made. Like I say, WBC, with Stevenson not going to Golden Boy, it's going to make it hard for the Cepeda fight. Lomachenko out as well. Davis versus Stevenson right now makes the complete sense. It is the biggest fight, the best fight, and most likely pretty much the only big fight there to make. So hopefully we'll see it happen now. Kunamoto won by TKO round 5 versus Kaney. Takasako won by unanimous decision versus Dickinson. McKenna won by TKO round 10 versus Estella. Conway won by TKO round 7 versus Yokiatsu. And that was a good first quarter-final for this prize fighter tournament, which is a little bit of a different format. I'm not too sure how big the format is in the way of fan base and stuff like that around it, but nonetheless, it's interesting and I'm here for it. Moving on, Flores won by KO in round 2 versus Moreno. Lua won by KO in round 5 versus Olguin. Chavez won by unanimous decision versus Kitani. Marias won by unanimous decision versus Garnett. Rocha won by unanimous decision versus Dominguez to become WBO Nebo welterweight champion. And speak a bit more about that card. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out. I think it's interesting the kind of journeyman type opponents over in America. Sometimes like the Mexican ones and like the South American ones are really, really tough. But some of the American ones are awful. And they like the British ones, a lot of them aren't good, but they're tough and they'll cover up and they just won't throw if they just don't believe that they're good enough. But some of the American ones just look terrible. And I think it was like Moreno. He just looked awful, and boxing fundamentals. I feel like it's unsafe to let fighters go in and fight like that. Like you, especially when you're fighting against opponents who are such a high level. Like I say, at least the British ones, you see them cover up and try and protect themselves and try and stay safe, but some of these American ones, they're just trading chin in the air, mouth open, the widest punches, and getting knocked out continuously. And it's just like, why? Like, I understand the money side of it and things like that, but it's just not safe. And yeah, that's just my little rant over about that. And yeah, it's interesting. But then Rocha, yeah, unanimous decision versus Dominguez. A good performance. Dominguez came on early in the fight and put it on Rocha. Rocha dealt with it well, though. I think Rocha showed some different things in which I was a fan of. He was manoeuvring Dominguez and like shifting around him, pivoting around him nicely, which is something a bit different to what we've seen with Rocha. He wasn't just standing right in range in front of you. He was kind of varying up his attacks a bit as well. There was some certain times where he was just kind of backing up in a straight line and getting caught, but in general, I think defensive wise that was a bit of a better performance. I still believe he's quite open a lot of the time to be getting hit. But that was a good victory for him and a good way to get back in the kind of best books for Golden Boy now. I believe that Golden Boy kind of need a fighter like a Rocha. I don't feel like Golden Boy can afford to lose any of their big fighters at the moment, just because they don't have enough big ones, and I understand that they're building up some of their prospects, but at the same time, yeah, I just don't believe they have big enough ones at the moment to be able to compete with any of them. So they really have to keep the likes of, like say, a Rocha or like a a Virgil Ortiz or certain ones like that. They just got to keep because they just got to hope that they keep winning really because they're just not really got much else really going for them huge wise at the moment. Like I say, Munguia as well. But yeah. Moving on, Aramoto won by a TKO round 6 versus Anand Dern. Olascugo won by a KO round 3 versus Kano to become WBO World Flyweight Champion. Nasukawa won via TKO round 3 versus Rodriguez. And Nakatani won via KO in round 1 versus Astrolabio to remain WBC World Bantamweight Champion. And to speak about that card, I believe that Japanese boxing is flying at the moment, and it was a really entertaining card to watch. Only 4 fights in the end, but 4 great fights, and it's quality over quantity, and that was excellent, and no boring things at all. I mean, the Aramoto stoppage was a very nice stoppage for a bigger guy from Japan to be able to go out there and get a stoppage like that was impressive. Olascu got excellent knockout from against Kano. I got my prediction right for that one. I thought Kano would be able to land some clean boxing at times, but that Olascu aggression would be there and would be harder to be able to deal with. But the actual shot he caught him with was beautiful, and sometimes Olascu's accuracy isn't always amazing, but the twist, uppercut, hook shot was just excellent, and great knockout. Really interesting to see where he's goes on to next, and he's progressing well as he's still early on in his career. Nasukawa, another person who's early on in his career but really got a big name for himself and a lot of pressure on him. That was his first stoppage, a nice stoppage. He leant back, he waited, then he let his shot go. Beautiful timed shot. It wasn't like a crazy good opponent or anything, but yeah, that was impressive. And Nakatani, KO round 1. Got my prediction right. I didn't say it would be KO in round 1, but I knew that he would win. And yeah, that was excellent. It was just a beautiful, solid boxing fundamentals, just mid-range, open to the shot, and caught him strong, powerful in his work, and yeah, really looking on top of the world at the moment. And hopefully go for unifications, undisputed, tight route soon, because I feel like they're the best options. I believe he would beat anybody else highly ranked in the WBC rankings, and he's just proven that by being the top ranked guy in the first round knockout. So yeah, great performance, great night of great show of boxing for Japan yet again, putting on more brilliant shows. It's nice to see that Top Rank have been giving them that backing. Udijaj won via TKO round 5 vs Ward to become IBF International Cruiserweight Champion. Helenius has been banned for 2 years. Queensbury are reportedly close for signing with DAZN. Will that happen? I don't know. Frank Warren has said that he's keen to kind of let out that contract with TNT, so we'll see. But there's possible talks there, and it wouldn't surprise me if AZEG wanted to go into an American market by signing fighters like a Brandon Lee. So I don't know, we'll see. But if so, then that's huge for DAZN, and then DAZN is the platform for all major boxing other than Boxer, but at that point Boxer might as well just go to DAZN as well. And it's crazy the rise in which DAZN has had from when they were first brought in with Matchroom and everything like that. Dickens has agreed a deal to fight Ball. It would be a huge fight for Liverpool boxing, but I don't think the fight necessarily makes sense for Ball. I think he said it in an interview as well that he's just at a level higher and it is a step down for him, and he's not really like in his point in his career. There's no point him taking a step down. So I don't believe that it should realistically happen. Thompson won via points versus Jackson. Masood won via points versus Solano. Parker won via TKO round 4 versus Arnfield. Dacres won via TKO round 7 versus Webster to remain English heavyweight champion. Esserman won via TKO round 10 versus Cooper to become WBO European welterweight champion. Taylor won via unanimous decision versus Lamella to become WBC International light heavyweight champion. Cameron won via majority decision versus McCarley to become WBC interim world super lightweight champion. Kane won via TKO round 5 versus Lane to become British and Commonwealth bantamweight champion. Pauls won via TKO round 12 versus Heaney to become British middleweight champion. And to speak about that great Queensbury Magnificent 7 card, which I had the privilege of being basically ringside for, doing media for it and everything like that over on the Squared Circle Boxing YouTube channel. I did some interviews. Feel free to go check them out if you're interested. And just to speak about a few fights, Parker, great to see him getting back to winning ways, stoppage winning ways, I mean. and yeah, that was a big stoppage for him, and in my opinion, in point one. And to be fair, as a whole, the card stoppage wise, entertainment value wise, was in my opinion a lot more than the last Magnificent Seven card, and that's what you want. It's to deliver up to the bill. Dakers against Webster. Webster was coming on quite strong early and had a nice jab, but Dakers really had to get that stoppage as well because otherwise talks start to happen and negative talk starts to happen and it starts to surround you and things like that. So that was a necessary win for him and a necessary stoppage, like I said. Hopefully we'll see the Adelaide fight next. But Esserman Cooper, I watched the whole fight. I refused to leave my seat for that fight. I knew from the start it was going to be an entertaining one, and these 50-50 domestic fights always are, but wow, that was crazy. I mean, Esserman was, from what I heard, behind by 3 rounds, and Cooper had just dropped him. Esserman dropped Cooper earlier, and then yeah, just to give it all, really just unload the punches. Esserman was having a lot of success when he was just front foot on the ropes, pushing Cooper and just unloading, and then to be able to get the stoppage, which was a scary stoppage to see right in front of me. And yeah, that was impressive for Esserman to be able to come off the loss and be able to do that. And then now he's calling for a world title. Probably won't happen, but I would like to see him progress onto a more European type opponent now and see how he handles it. Taylor, unanimous decision. Lamella was tough. Taylor was good, clean boxing. Kind of what I expected. I didn't really expect a big stoppage or anything. But yeah, that was a nice win for him. Cameron Cameron just kind of wanted to get a good opponent in and get back to nice winning ways. And will we see the Taylor fight next? Probably not. But that was a good performance from her, and I'm intrigued to see what happens with her signing with Queensberry and her progression with them. But like I say, a good performance. Kane Lane, I was sad to see Lane lose, to be honest, I can't lie. He's somebody who I've had the pleasure to see his career as of recent, especially, and see him progress and interview him multiple times. But Kane's boxing was very clean and did all the right things, kept Lane away, and yeah, managed to get a stoppage. And so impressive for Kane. Probably be progressing quite well now, to be fair to him. And then Paul's Heaney was an excellent fight. I knew that would be. I thought Heaney would start boxing wise well at the start, and Paul's would come on to it later. But as soon as he got that quite shock knocked down, then it was from then on it was all Paul's, and Paul's really showed a lot of grit to be able to get through it, and pretty much kind of maybe did know that he had to get a stoppage in there because of how close it was last time and everything like that, and scorecards and things like that. And Heaney, with the whole backing behind him, still unfortunately for him couldn't do it. But I think defensive wise there are footwork things wrong with Heaney and stuff like that. But I think he has to be able to work on them if he's going to be able to ever get back to the level again. But Paul's, I would like to see him progress on now, and maybe a Denzel Bentley fight or an opponent like that could be a good one, because I think that would be somewhat of a progression, even though Heaney did beat Bentley. But I still, like I say, would think that would be a good fight to see. Hopefully Queensberry sign him now, because he's another great guy as well. Perez won via KO in round 3 vs Guerrero. Chaparro won via KO in round 2 vs Hill. Parientes won via majority decision vs Rodriguez. Green won via unanimous decision vs Spence. Cesar Chavez Jr. won via unanimous decision vs Hall. Bardi won via KO in round 6 vs Silv. Marksman won via majority decision vs Aguiar. Serrano won via TK in round 2 vs Morgan. Paul won via TK in round 6 vs Perry. And to speak about that card, the Chavez Jr. Hall one was an interesting one. It was two slower guys as kind of expected, but Chavez Jr. was showing he was the better boxer on the back foot. It was closer than perhaps I thought, but Hall was always going to be tough to get off with Chavez Jr. and Chavez Jr. did what he had to do. And yeah, it's an interesting performance. I think if he'd have fought Darren Till, he probably would have beat him. The Bardi Silva one was a crazy knockout. But it's just one of the things when you're just too confident and you're fighting too confidently, and yeah, it was a shock. Nobody expected it, and Bardi, fair play to him, all credit to him. Big stoppage, huge. They probably will just rematch it next, but yeah, highlight reel stoppage win for him. And like I say, when you're against undefeated opponents, you have to give them to them at the right time. And Silva, I just don't think he was ready for that. And even though he was boxing really well and winning all the rounds, you're just too confident, I think, and just yeah, coming in too open, and he got caught. Serrano, stoppage versus Morgan. Serrano, wow, she is, one of the best, if not the best, women's fighter ever. And I mean, I thought Morgan could have given her a tough test. Morgan's coming off multiple first round stoppages. I know against a lot lesser opponents, but still, I thought she would have done. But Serrano just put it on her. She is just too much, and not many fighters could even be able to handle Serrano's pressure. And it's going to be really entertaining to see the Taylor rematch. She's one of the only fighters that could seem to be able to deal with it. But that stoppage win coming into it could have been. It was a risky fight to take, just like the Paul Perry one was. But that's perfect, giving her the confidence, all the confidence in the world, ready for that rematch. And then Paul, like I say, Perry. I mean, I've got my prediction right, but same with the Serrano one. But I didn't think they either of them, I believe, would go to stoppage. And so Perry, he was durable, he was coming forwards, but it's different. Bare knuckle style to a boxing style, and Perry just not setting up any shots. Paul moving, keeping his jab out quite nicely, being a little bit still open with his shots when he's throwing combinations, not really looking too fluid, and maybe overcommitting a bit with them. But he's powerful, he's strong, he sits down on his shots, he's got a nice jab, and managed to get a win there. And obviously, he was the much bigger guy than Perry, but Perry signed up for that. He knew it was going to be tough, he knew he had to be durable to take some shots, but he just couldn't get in really in close and be able to do what he wanted to do at all. And just maybe Perry was more used to fighters respecting him a bit more than what Paul did, and so all credit to Paul. And now the Tyson fight next. But it was funny to see McGregor kick off Perry from BKFC, so I don't know where Perry's going to go now, if he's ever really going to be wanted to fight again. And then Paul also called out Pereira. Will we see that maybe? But I don't think so, because it won't be for a while, and I think by that point, Pereira has got a few more fights, I believe, with UFC in his contract, and so I just don't see him going and being allowed to fight Paul. And even when he does retire, Paul will probably be at a different point in his career at that point, and so would Pereira. So yeah, I just don't see that fight happening. But it's an interesting person to call out, I suppose. Moving on, Rustam won by KO round 2 versus Roka Maikoro. Beacon won by a split decision versus Nantes. Ogden won by a number decision versus Young. Biggs won by a number decision versus Haywood. Keneally won by a TK round 3 versus Rocha to become WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion. Got my prediction right for that. I believe I didn't think I said stoppage, but nonetheless, Keneally, credit to her. I haven't managed to see the fight because I can't really seem to find footage of it, but yeah, full credit to her. And the light heavyweight division is becoming more entertaining now. Baller won by a majority decision versus Tate to remain IBF Australasian lightweight champion. Valle won by TK round 2 versus Core. And that is all the boxing news. We're on now to the MMA news. Jones may be facing jail time. I thought I'd mention it. Not really too sure the whole kind of situation around it. Also, I'm not going to go into it too much. But is that another thing that's going to stop the Miocic fight? We'll see. Hernandez versus Pereira, Aldana versus Dumont, Jar Gui versus Souza, Bahamondes versus Torres, Borjas versus Cherez, and Osborne versus Rodriguez will fight September 14th. Romero is set to fight Anderson October 19th. Derrida has left one championship. Roses Jr. is set to fight Ayor Kilengak August 10th. Evelayev will fight Sterling October 5th. McGregor wants to fight in BKFC when he leaves UFC. I think that's just because it's his organisation and everything like that, and he wants to build more hype around him whenever he's out there. But will we see it? Maybe, probably not, because I think if McGregor's struggling to get in and get all fit and ready for a UFC fight, I just don't think he's going to be able to be durable enough and to be able to get all fit and up for a BKFC fight, and who would even fight really. It'd be interesting. Gary has called out Rakimov. Magomedov will fight Oleksiy Juk August 3rd. Diaz versus Luque has been postponed. That's sad, but that's Diaz's travel problems. Peterson won via decision versus Usman. Carolina won via decision versus Pudilova. Ogden won by decision versus Radsabov. Maverick won by decision versus Barboza. Gibson won by submission round 1 versus Kelleher. Amil won by KO round 1 versus Young. Du Ho won by KO in round 2 versus Algio. Silva won by KO in round 2 versus Durden. Holobar won by decision versus Krushki. Garcia won by KO in round 1 versus Zhu Wu. And Jean Derova won by submission round 2 versus Lemos. And just to speak about a couple of that fights, not really a big UFC show in general, and I think some of the fight nights have been maybe a little bit poor, and as of recent, I respect them wanting to keep actively having the shows. Holobar, somebody who I had the pleasure to interview a little while ago, great to see him back to winning ways in the UFC. Garcia, that stoppage in round 1 was a big stoppage, and yeah, I don't really think too many people thought it'd be quite as impressive as that. And the same with the Amil one versus Young. That was an impressive one as well, where they just went to war straight away. But in the end, Amil was just too much and landed a really nice uppercut as well. And Jandiroba, that submission was nice. It was two Brazilians going at it in jiu-jitsu, and in the end, Jandiroba, a beautiful submission to be completely honest, and she attempted quite a few really nice different submission attempts, and I think she could be one to watch out for in the division with that, like I say, that wrestling about her. Just be interesting to see if she can take it all the way to the top. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, like this, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.